Okay, hello everybody. This is Will Coons with Austin FC Communications. As you know, I see mostly familiar faces here, and we will be enabling everyone to record. We have with us today Austin FC head coach Josh Wolff. Our first three questions will be as follows: Chris Bills, Mike Craven, and Mark Turner. So Chris, you're up.
Thanks, Will. Josh, I was just curious if you could talk about your, some of your memories from Columbus and what that city and club means to you and your family. Obviously, spending as much time as you did there.
Yeah, it was the longest. It was the longest I've been anywhere in MLS as a player and obviously as a coach. So consecutive years anyway. I was in Kansas City for 7.5 years, but broken up or thereabouts. But I think. Our time in Columbus was great. We enjoyed the team, enjoyed the city. Obviously, my kids grew up there and were part of the academy, and but we enjoyed our time there for sure. And my kids still have friends there. Actually, Owen's visiting friends there right now. But it was good to us, and I think we helped create something there that I think still exists to some degree. Those are great players that are still part of that team that we were able to work with, and I still communicate with some of those guys, and that's the friendships and the bonds that we were able to make, and as a staff and as people. So good memories, obviously.
Great. Mike, you're up.
Hey, Coach, just curious if you could give us an update on who's going to be available Sunday, kind of what's going on with Alex, Nick, and some of the other guys that have been beat up.
Yeah. Alex and Nick are questionable at best, and we just got to keep seeing how they recover. And I think Danny Pereira has been involved in more training. Obviously, Hector came in and was available, and probably went many more minutes than we expected, and that's why we had to end up pulling him just from a responsibility standpoint, having been out for 6 weeks. So I think Nick and Alex we'll just have to keep monitoring how they progress, and that's kind of where we're at. And it's been difficult with some injuries, and we've had a bit of adversity, but that's part of it. We're coming home. We have enough players and enough quality in our group to come at home and face a very talented group, and we expect to go out and get result at home, but we'll have to see who is available in the next couple of days.
Thanks, Mike. Mark Turner, you're up.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, you're looking for ways to score goals, and it struck me that we haven't seen Tomas Pochettino on free kicks since preseason, when obviously he dispatched a couple of worldies. I'm wondering why that is. Is that something that's happening on the field, or I'm assuming this is something you're taking care of before the players step onto the field? So is there any chance we might see Tomas behind some free kicks in the future?
If there's anything around goal, Tomas will definitely be over the ball. And just as you said, he scored some unbelievable ones in preseason. He does it all the time in training. So we need to create more chances around goal where it's shooting opportunities. And if we get those opportunities, he's first in line. There's no questions about it. And in and around the penalty box on the sides and corner kicks, we think Zahn is our probably preferred taker. And then obviously between Tomas and Cece, there's a few different things and wrinkles that we put in there. But, again, anything around goal, he's definitely our first option. And then, some of the other ones, he comes in and ad-libs at times, but we like Z taking them, and he and Cece can share the loads on other ones. But I'd love for him to get on top of the box and have a couple looks this week. It'd be great.
Great. Our next three will come from Jake Garcia, Chris Tavares, and Zach Smith. So go ahead, Jake.
Josh, where do you and the guys stand on this being a rivalry match? Can you sense any deeper significance leading up to this game from your players, or just another game?
Yeah, I mean, it's a game we're playing at home. So, I mean, that's the first thing. And we're in the midst of, certainly some adversity with coming out of 8 games on the road and now some injuries. And obviously, the positive is we get to come and play at home, and we're playing a very good team, the defending champs. So from that standpoint, we got an excellent opponent coming into our house, and it's going to be challenging. And, we look to, again, utilize our energy, utilize our fans, utilize our stadium to help fuel us in this game. But we have to be very aware of who our opponent is and what their strengths and weaknesses are. But we want to come and play. We want to come and compete. And again, I think that urgency is going to be there at home for us. And as far as rivalries, for me, those things just take time and years to develop. We have our own in-state rivals that I'd say are more built-in rivals. So I don't know that that's the case with this team that's coming this weekend. But either way, they're a good opponent. So we look forward to that opportunity to see where we are. And we've stacked up. We've played against a couple teams, some of the best in the league as well, with Seattle and Kansas City. And this is another one. So it's a good benchmark to kind of measure yourself against. But we'll have our hands full, but we want to make it tough on them as well.
Great. Chris, you're up.
Josh, I got two questions. One's just a follow-up to Jake's question. Is the history with Precourt and Columbus and moving to Austin and all that, is that more something that we in the media focus on than what you guys in the actual game are concerned with at all?
I would think so. Yes. That's the simple. I don't give too much thought, or I don't know anyone around here that gives too much thought to anything that has happened or has been said or done in the past. So we've got, a fantastic brand, a fantastic organization, and a great city, and we focus on what we do here, and everything else is, to everyone else is pleasing.
For sure. And the way things went in Minnesota, is that almost to be expected with the emotional hangover of everything that went into Saturday and the quick turnaround? And it seems like this team's riding a roller coaster of emotions with the first home match and then that loss in Minnesota and then coming back. How do you try and level things out for these guys with all that's going on emotionally with everything?
Yeah, it's tough. Again, like Alex gets removed and scratched before the game starts. Nick tears his hamstring 9 minutes in. We made some changes to try to minimize our exposure to injuries, and those two pop up, and right away you have some concerns in the game how we're going to finish and compete, because we are limited still with some players, but also knowing that what players we had to bring in with Hector, who was just coming off of 6 weeks being out, he has limited minutes that he can play, and it became a real puzzle. It was the first time facing something like that where knowing we have to shuffle guys and we have 2 games coming in quick succession. And Sebastian won't be available in the next game against Columbus. So we were very limited as to what we could do. And, I think, giving up the 2 goals made it even more challenging, obviously. And then as the game went on, it was managing and trying to be able to compete and grind out a result, but also being mindful of what's coming. So it was strange. Roller coaster game, and yes, roller coaster to some degree what the beginning of this year's looked like, but that's what it is. The summer brings heat, it brings challenges, it brings travel and some fatigue, and it's not so uncommon to see some of the injuries. We're just getting hit with them pretty quickly, and we got to come out of it and still remain competitive, and certainly at home we need to drive that, and it's about getting points at home, and it's a good opportunity to play a good opponent, and our guys will be up for it. There's no doubt about it.
Great. Zach Smith, you're up.
Yeah, thanks. It seems like you've got a lot of kind of balls to juggle, right? With obviously the MLS Cup champions coming in and managing injuries and all that. I guess as a first-time head coach, what's your strategy in kind of juggling all those balls and trying to keep everything, you know what I mean here?
Yeah.
What's your strategy in terms of managing everything you've got going on as a head coach right now?
Yeah, I think being very honest and candid with staff, with players, I think that's the first thing. That honesty is what I mean is individual performance, collective performance, our performance as coaches, and know that we're in the beginnings of this process, and we've had our 8 games, we've had on the road, everything that's been talked about, we had our home game, and now you're coming into a congested schedule. You're playing at home, you're playing in the heat. We do have injuries, so there is a lot going on, but there's still what we want to do and how we come to work every day, and the process that we function by each day we come here, each day that we train, how we review sessions, how we review and prepare for games. you go back to the process and you don't get too carried away. Now it's working with Claudio and certainly our scouting department on trying to identify targets. We do need a striker. We don't have a striker, and that's an area that we could certainly make some additions, and as well as some other places. But we have we have to deal with what's in front of us right now, and we know we have these 3 games that are coming over the next 8 or 9 days, and then we get a little bit of I'd say you get a week to the LAFC game almost, and then you have a little bit of a break. So we just got to make the most of what we have with our guys right now. Hopefully continue to get Pereira fit, getting Alex and Beasler fit again and healthy is going to be important. But there's also opportunities for other players now, and it's going to be difficult. And we always knew this was going to be difficult, and adversity is very common in sport. And right now we're facing that, but we got to dig in, roll up our sleeves, keep working, stick to our process, and make improvements. We got to keep getting better.
Great. Our next 2 will come from Mark Turner and Chris Bills. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, just want to clarify something. Did you say Nick Lima has torn his hamstring?
Well, it's a pulled hamstring. Whenever I hear pull, for me is there's some tearing in that muscle somewhere, so
you say potato, I say potato. Okay.
Yeah. He's going to be out for a little while. That's the point.
Fair enough. So I don't mean to be so blunt here, Coach, but your back is against the wall this weekend, right? I mean, your team's been held together with Scotch tape here. You've got their current MLS Cup champions coming to town. Even though we have home advantage, how do you possibly win on Sunday?
Well, I think it's in both ways. I mean, both ends of the field, you have to be very, very organized, and very, very aware of what it's going to look like. I mean, they have some playmakers and some guys that can score goals. They have very common ways that they build up and certainly how they look to finish attacks. So understanding how we can structure ourselves and be sound to minimize some of their things. But offensively, again, I think you need to find the balance of being able to go quickly, but also utilize the ball and now, be more resourceful with the ball, have a little more patience to some of our attacks. And again, against Minnesota, when we did that, we had some success when we could move them side to side. And now, create some situations out wide, some overloads, and think of progressing. But how do we get across the field and get in the penalty box? We had a handful of times where we did that, and it was good. So you have to find the balance of being direct and quick when you can, but also that you need to use the ball. It's going to be warm again, and obviously both teams will have played some games now over the last week. So finding that right balance of going for it and the right balance of bringing the opponent out to make space, but. They're a good team. So they're defending champs for a reason, and they have some quality within their group, but we also have to be organized and have more bite, be much tougher in certain situations and tackling and competing and where we can win the ball, build pressure and win the ball. So, because they're good with the ball as well.
Yeah, Josh, it seemed obvious that Sebastian got kind of thrown into a tough spot on Wednesday night. Starting his first match for this club on short notice and replacing the captain. What was kind of your message to him? With a short break here between the before the next match, and then sort of adding on to that, kind of a related question is Danny. Do you expect Danny Pereira to be available to start on Sunday, or is that still unknown at this time?
Well, I think Danny's just started training with us. So, I don't know that it would be terribly responsible from the start, but we believe he's going to be available as long as he continues to progress. But, it's just good to have him back out there. It's good to have him on the field. He's such a good player. He brings a few things, ball winning, but also the ability to dribble pressure, break pressure. So it'll be good to get him, hopefully some minutes in this game. That's certainly the idea. For Sebastian, it's again, I think he has a soccer brain. He's been in the soccer world for so long, and knowing what that role was going to look like, as the 6 for Alex, and he's different than Alex, obviously, but we also had Diego close by. So it was trying to create situations for them where he didn't have to manage that space on his own. So to try, and obviously if you have, Julio's back there and Johan's a center back who's younger. So having more experience around him helps when you have Alex near him, or if you have Matt Beasler out there. So those were some things that I think, we had Aiden at left back instead of Zahn. So it was, if you have young players coming in, you want to surround them with more experienced guys. And that was probably maybe less evident in this game, but I thought he did well. I thought he did fine coming in, and obviously he can he can circulate the ball real well. His distribution over distance is extremely good. And winning balls is going to be a collective thing for us. So that was a little bit of the difficulty for us in the middle of the field and how we could navigate the spaces between the lines. But I told him, do what he does. He's a good player. He's got good soccer understanding and utilize the ball. His best attributes are certainly with the ball. And, when he did those things, well, I think it helped us.
Great. Next up, we'll go to Eric Goodman with the Chronicle. Eric?
Josh, so you mentioned Alex's injury happened in training, possibly. I'm not sure about Beasler's. Sounds like that might have been the case as well. With the condensed schedule with the heat, are there any adjustments that you have to make? Do you have to be any more cautious about the intensity in training, or is it just you got to train the way you train and you take what can come out of that sometimes?
Yeah, it's a great question. Diego. Alex's was part of training, and it was seeing. We knew he was. We felt he was gonna push through it and be able to play. And I think once he started the warm up for the game, I think it became really clear for him that he wasn't gonna be able to do it. And that's the unfortunate part. Matt took a knock against San Jose, and it was probably on a tackle, but he had a nice, almost like a half an egg on the top of his foot. So that had to calm down. He didn't finish the training the day before the game, so it was just a strong likelihood he wouldn't play. But we wanted to bring him just in case. We had emergencies, which we had other emergencies in that game, clearly. But they're making progress. So it's, we're going to see how they are tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first day that we'll have the group back out on the field. So minimizing training and intensity, again, it's tough for me to scale back intensity. We're not on the field that long. So I need the intensity. We need the speed. We need the game realistic quality when we're playing. So what affects maybe what we can do is sometimes the heat and the warmth, we don't want to expose them to too much of that. So we're conscious of the loads and certainly how long we're out in sessions, but we need that intensity. And, I wouldn't say his injury was anything to do with the contact. It was more blocking a shot and kind of, it really tweaked his ankle in a strange way. So he's just having a tough time recovering from that.
Great. We'll go next to, we were going to go to Mike Craven, but his hand went down. So let's go back to Mark Turner for one more. If you got one, Mark. No? Okay. I think that'll do it then. I think
Well, I got one more if it's all right.
Oh yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, Eric.
Because we were talking about the Columbus rivalry with any of the past. So that's a factor that fans and maybe will, worry about and want to talk about. But the team also, as constructed, has a lot of ties to Columbus in it. You yourself, I think there's 6 players, especially when you consider Sebastian. Is that anything that, just because there's so much volume that draws from Columbus, is that anything that you see in the guys that has them, circling this game a bit more, just drawing on the history that so many of them have to Columbus?
You have to ask them, but I don't think so. I think they're genuinely excited about where we are and what we've built and what we've become part of. And things like that, rivalries take place, I think, typically over time and through situations and instances. So I don't know how often these two teams are going to play each other. And like I said, rivalries, they take a life of their own. So they do, it just takes some existence and certainly some level of competing against each other. We haven't competed against many teams in this league yet, but we feel a natural rivalry against Dallas and Houston because they're in state. But I think, of course, there's going to be some other rivals that come up, but those will be born and built around just the situation arising more often. And sometimes it's on the field and sometimes it's off the field that fuels these rivalries, but we don't really have any yet. We're 10 games in, and I think those things will come about. We're really excited about, obviously, the state of Texas has 3 teams, and those are going to be some real derbies, hopefully, and it creates some angst and some energy. And you see it around the league, the rivalry week, when this league starts going, you start pushing those things. It's incredible because there are some awesome matches that bring a lot of eyes to the game, but also bring a lot of quality to the game. And obviously New York and LA, those are the bigger ones. And the Cascadia, you have plenty of good ones up there as well. But we're glad to be part of that one here in Texas, and we look forward. Those games are coming soon, but we look forward to those games against our in-state rivals.
Great. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Josh, for your time as always, and all those who are on the call.